Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and now I want to talk to you about the benefits of anger and how we can use anger to get to a better place and to really accelerate our life experience and everything that goes around. So anger in society or whatever in spiritual teaching and so on has always this negative connotation to it. Everybody knows it. When you're angry, it means that there's something you're not facing within yourself, that you kind of just don't want to deal with your feelings, but you absorb it outside and so on. But this is always coming from a point where people are constantly angry and trying to push out all those feelings they don't want to feel, and they project them on everybody outside. So if you're feeling negative, you kind of like also think that people around you are negative. That's how you perceive them, and therefore you can address your anger towards them because in your perception they deserve to be yelled at or whatever. This is not as typical in INFJs, for example, or in introverts, but it is a coping mechanism as much as is the one thing I used to do a lot, and I think a lot of the people watching this do, which is to completely explain or kind of like justify why people are being angry towards you. What you feel at that moment is, well, they're full of pain, there's a lot of suffering, so I will let them express their anger. They have no other choice. That's how they perceive life at that moment, but that's their thing. That's what I'm always saying. It's not your responsibility to help people experience life in a positive way by aligning their environment to fit their mental space, because this is what we do. We kind of see, okay, this is how person A experiences life at that moment, and we feel, well, okay, we're gonna help shape their outside world, their environment, to a way that matches their inner frequency in a way, and therefore we hope that there will be some more balance. And looking like a layer deeper, it's because we feel, well, once they're aligned and they're okay, we're not going to feel their pain anymore. But what we neglect at that point is that this is how that person feels right now. If you're not helping them to align to their inner frequency, then they might even change, or they will probably, this is what I've experienced always, they will just change how they perceive reality, and they will change their natural frequency or the way they perceive their life in a way that is more suiting to their personality, to their energy, and so on. So this just like as a disclaimer in the beginning. So anger can have a negative connotation, but if it's not something that you're naturally in tune with, being angry, then being angry can really help you. So for people like me who get into a phase of being numb, being just, I always forget the word, but just like kind of like not caring about the world, not even, those typical examples I say, that I don't care what I want to watch, I don't care to have like a colorful life, to have like so much experience, because it all doesn't matter. That's numbing down our feeling, numbing down our desires, and so on. And this is what happens when we get into a negative state, or when we tend to go into a negative spiral and so on. This is like disintegrating, and it happens, but it happens from time to time. It can happen due to certain circumstances that we cannot we cannot just take ourselves out of it. Normally what we have to do is have like a inner state that is completely independent from our environment, from our circumstances, because the way we perceive life or the way we feel is kind of like helping us to create a better reality or a better perception of our life and so on. And if we take our clues from what is happening right now around us, then we're not really getting out of that. But it happens, we're all human, it happens. So when we get into those negative areas, a lot of us have already come to a point where we're conscious enough to realize that, okay, it's going downwards right now. like I need to do something and I don't know what to do because, you know, I work with music a lot, and which helps me to get to my optimal possible state at that moment. But you can't be, if you're negative or kind of like numbed out, you can't just say, oh, I'm gonna listen to some really positive song and then everything will be okay, because the jump is too high. You can't be like from this numbed out space to get to this, everything is great. And I think this is what keeps a lot of us stuck down there, when the only thing we have to do in order to get to that positive place is to put anger in between. You know, it's one strategy that I have learned works very well. And it doesn't have to be anger towards somebody specific. I mean, you can have it in your head. You can even force your anger in your head towards a certain person. But, you know, you're not really, you're not really telling that person. You're not making that person feel bad. It's just something you feel and you express it in your thoughts, through music, through yelling, through stuff that you do for yourself. You just need to get to that anger place in order to just flush those negative feelings out. Because what happens is, when we numb out, pretty much, is we absorb so much negativity, and we numb out because we cannot take it. This is, you know, subconsciously we don't really realize it. And in order to be even able to like breathe out and just kind of accelerate and expand and be happy again, we need to get rid of those feelings. And you get rid of those feelings through expressing anger. So if you have, like, there's this spectrum of frequencies and state of beings and so on, and really low is like apathy, and then there's anger, or then there's, I don't know, hopelessness, so on, and then there's anger. And then it kind of like gets a little better until you reach like love, joy, and all those other things. So that's why when you have therapy sessions and so on, I've heard that it's always good if there's like still anger, because it's easier to get somebody who's constantly angry to a better space than somebody who's like numbed out and just is hopeless and so on. So this step has helped me a lot. If I allow myself to be angry, if I allow myself to be like still dark, because that's how I feel. When I'm in this lower space, I feel dark and I feel secluded and I feel like, it's very stagnating. It's a very stagnating feeling. It's very slow moving and so on. So if I allow myself to get angry, to be like aggressive and to be forceful with my thoughts of, this is what I'm gonna achieve, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what, like, I'm not gonna let anything stop me, and more just like a mental concept of it, without really changing your now I'm happy, but just like to get that pace up. Once you're like, because it's easier to just get your pace up first, and once your pace is higher, then it's much easier to get into a positive mood and so on, because there's always something beautiful in this secluded space that is down there, because that's been home for so long. And a lot of us have learned to make like the best out of it, because that's why a lot of us have like this great capacities for poetry and so on. And I know that when I was at my lowest or the most desperate for something and like, you know, I felt like I felt most alive at that moment was when I was really low and I was expressing everything through poetry, through passion and so on. But it comes from a place of heartbreak, and it comes from a place of pain. And one of the lessons we have to learn is that this is not home anymore. As beautiful as it might sound, this is not home, because it comes with a lot of pain. And just because it's beautiful, we can thank it for being in our life and helping us through difficult times, because this is what we do to cope. We make the beauty out of this depth and this weight that is on us. And then And then, but when we go up, it's like, it's more, it's accelerating, because once you're like able to expand, you can celebrate with others, you can share your joy and your passion for life and all those things that you will feel once you change in that space. And then it's even much more kind than it used to, because now you're really helping to pull people up. And once you're down there, it's like you might like pull people down, you hope other people will lift you up, but there's nothing, you're just in so much pain, and you're giving so much of yourself that there's nothing you can give anymore. And once we allow ourselves to like really go to that positive place, because we know it's in the end run, it's going to feel better, although we're not sure how this is going to happen, and we've never been there, but it will feel better and it will be so much more fulfilling. But this anger step in between, or this aggressive phase, is completely important, and not only important, but we should allow it to ourselves. There's always this belief that being aggressive is not right, being forceful is not right. That's what people do who don't who just like go after their instincts like right there without thinking about what this really means. But actually what you're doing is you're being aggressive towards the way you perceive life at that point. Let's say you have that one person and you feel like that's a bad person at that moment, and you start being aggressive, having aggressive thoughts against that person. You're not really being aggressive towards that person anyways, because that person, the way that person perceives their life is their thing, and the way they perceive life, that's how you perceive them at that moment. It's not who they really are, it's your perception of that person. And you just kind of like say, I don't like the perception I have of this person. That's what you actually do. Or of this environment. I don't like the perception I have of this environment, so I'm just gonna reject it. That's all you do. And you need to have like this in-between phase in order to really appreciate what you have, because then once you reject that, you allow yourself to integrate other things in your life, people, circumstances, the way you just the way you live your day-to-day life, that are more in line with who you are, and then you can feel happy. So you can do it on a bigger scale. For me, like this huge shift included a long period of time where I was very forceful and very angry because I was in a very deep hole. But now and then I got like to this positive space, and I'm accelerating, from day to day and so on. But I also use it in a smaller scale, just like when I have like more negative weeks, or I get upset with myself because I'm stagnating or something mentally. I remind myself that it's okay to be angry. It's okay to want to fight, and to fight myself back out of hell. And this has helped me in a lot of situations. So I hope this will help you too. Just try it. Let me know how it works for you. It's one of those things that are not that might be counterintuitive if we haven't thought about it too long, but it makes sense, and it has been incredibly helpful, as I said. So I hope you can use this information. If you have any questions or comments, I'm always thankful for your comments below. Subscribe to the channel, like the video if you do, and talk to you next time. Bye. Would give. Like I always thought, well, now that I say I don't need to do that, I don't need to be extra nice for people to like me, because that person, you've accepted that person doesn't like you. So there's nothing you can blame your anxiety on. You understand it's you who gives you